Sabbath school, huh? Good morning, everybody. Good morning. So when are you guys taking that act out on the road? That's what I want to know. I'm seeing performances all over this great land. That is awesome. You sounded great. Let's give it up one more time for Strings and Things. Come on. Will you join me to open up our service this fine Sunday morning here in Dunedin, Florida, with our call to worship, our gathering litany. We call it that. Together, let us hold a place where each can find voice as they long to reflect the Spirit of Christ for our time.
Let us hold a place where the path and teachings of Jesus leads us into an experience of the sacred, even as we draw from the diverse sources of wisdom along the way.
Let us hold a place inclusive of all people as we explore the fullest expression of what we believe.
Let us hold a place that expresses itself through the way we behave toward each other and all of creation.
Let us hold a place where we find grace within the very search for understanding.
Let us hold a place where all can strive for justice and work to restore the integrity of the earth.
Finally, let us hold a place committed to lifelong learning, expanded compassion, radical welcome, and selfless love.
Together, let our hope be that we can find our voice in this place as we work to reflect the Christ Spirit through acts of love, peace, and togetherness in all we do, in all we are, and in all we are becoming.
Well, why don't we rise up now, ladies and gentlemen, my friends, and join our voices in one love. No, I'm just kidding. We tried that last week. I didn't go so well last week. But we're going to work on it and bring it back and perfect it. Let's redeem ourselves this week. How about that? With a familiar hymn, a favorite of mine, Praise to the Living God.
Fly.
seated, everybody. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Faith United Church of Christ. Again on this hot and sticky out there. Woo, isn't it? And steamy. A hot and sticky Sunday morning here in Dunedin, Florida. And a special welcome to anyone who's online. Our folks online, we're delighted to have you as well, wherever you are coming from. And hopefully it's cooler weather where you are. If you're visiting online with us, and you want to get on our newsletter list, go ahead and send us a note at office@faithucc.org. We'll get you in our mailing list and keep you apprised of all the happenings that we have going on here. And if you are in person with us, go ahead and sign our friendship book, which we keep on the table in the gathering space, so we can get you on that same newsletter list and keep you apprised of all the happenings we have going on here. Does it ever slow down at this place? I tell you. It's one thing to another. One thing to another. Who was at the Pride Rays game yesterday? Raise your hand. I mean, look at the crowd. Look at the number of people that were at that game. It was an awesome day yesterday. It really was. We had probably 35 people, maybe close to 40 people at this game. We took up 2 rows. We were the rowdiest, most boisterous crowd in the place. I don't know if we were one of the only churches there. We may have been. There might have been 1 or 2 others. I assume Allendale might be there, but there weren't many. But we sure showed up and showed our pride and our spirits. I just wanted to share some pictures of the day. Just a really fun day of watching baseball and getting a good nap in while we were there. It's the best sleep I've had in weeks. Just dozed right through that game. I took it upon myself to be the world's biggest baseball troll that day by asking, important questions, folks, like where's the quarterback? I mean, or when is halftime? These are important things. How many outs in an inning? I mean, these are things that we need to know. And if you guys would have told me this thing was 9 innings long, I never would have been anywhere close to that.
You went to 2 this week.
3 innings is plenty for baseball. I think we need a movement to make baseball 3 innings long. And it'll be the 2nd inning stretch, and I think we're good with that. But there's some more pictures just to share with you. It was just a really fun day. Great community building. Next year, there's a section down below. We were really close to the field. But there's a section down below that had tables and chairs and food and a bar. And I'm like, Casey, you arranged this. Why aren't we down there? So we're doing sign-ups today for next year because you know what? I realized we got to get to 60 people to get down there. And I think we can get pretty dang close to 60 people. It's a little more expensive, but hey, for what the fun you'll have down there to be able to roam around and they have beds to sleep down there, cots. Have a whole sleeping room I heard back there. So I mean, it's phenomenal. But it was just a really good day. I thank everybody that went out. And if you didn't get to go, next year we'll be here before you know it. And and this is kind of a highlight. Our very own Pat Sargent got a game ball yesterday. She's got it with her in the house here. So that's pretty cool. It was a ricochet and her son caught it. And what did he do? He handed it to his mom. Yeah. I would have sold it to her for $50, but Tim, was a good guy. So it was just a great day. Again, thanks to all who were able to go. And again, if you did not get to go, we're going to go again next year, even bigger and bolder, show our pride, and just have a ball because it was fun. Hey, quick note. A couple of you have commented to me about a security officer that we have here this morning in the parking lot, and we are doing that for June. Fran announced this a couple of weeks ago. Casey, I think I lost my mic. A couple of weeks ago, there we go. Fran announced that we were going to have this just for the month of June for now to try this out. And it's really just because it's such a hot month right now. And we put ourselves out there as we should. That's what we do. So if we got to pay a little money for a little extra security and a little added peace of mind on a Sunday in a month, I think that's really hot. I heard there's some shooting standoff involving a church going down on Park Boulevard this morning. Security officer told me there might have been a church involved. That's rumor for now, but would it surprise you? No. So we want to just head that off. So for the month of June, you're going to see around. And a reason, we got a package delivered to us last Sunday. I laugh because I get I get anonymous emails, I get crazy stuff sent to me. But this one someone dropped off, and there's no threats in it, but it says just crazy things like, please be aware that feminists and other like-minded individuals are quietly laughing at men who are intimately involved. They have been deceived, and it goes on and on and on. And then this is the one that got me, and a couple of us were reading it together, and it's called the granola bar surprise. This is where we are, folks, in the level of craziness out there. This person typed this. After purchasing a package containing 6 granola bars, the Lord revealed something to me. Have you ever had a revelation after leaving Publix? Well, I picked up my Nature Valley granola bars and God spoke to me. I mean, how about that? And this was several days after it was purchased, so I guess it wasn't right away. But when the purchase was made, I looked at the package, the front and back, and I could not make sense of what I was seeing. Later, I happened to open the compartment where the package was kept. Granola bars, in other words. What's what they keep in there? Might have been a shock. My eyes caught the box, and within a split second, I became aware of the message that was conveyed. And it goes on, and it actually includes pictures of granola bars. Nature Valley, kids having fun, obviously propaganda to turn us all gay, and if you are LGBT, maybe to turn you heterosexual. I don't know what's going on right now. There's all sorts of twisting and turning going on. It's just garbage. It's garbage, and it's the reason that we need to just protect ourselves a little more during this month, because this kind of stuff comes. It doesn't come with any threats. It just comes with craziness. But who knows someday if someone decides to up their game. And we just want to be prepared for that. So I thank Jude for leading our safety team back there. She's in the back with any questions, Jude. She will be happy to answer them. And just remember later when you're at Publix purchasing your Nature Valley granola, you're all going to run out now, right? In fact, you know what? I think we should have a Dunedin Cares Nature Valley granola bar collection. Can we all do that? Let's do a Nature Valley granola bar collection. Starting next week, the next 2 weeks, we'll collect Nature Valley granola bars and we'll send them over to Dunedin Cares. I can't wait to go shopping later and hear God speak to me personally when I open up my tasty chocolate chip peanut butter granola bars, So if you have any questions, Fran is here in the front row, our moderator. I'm available. Jude is in the back. Just talk to us and we'll discern where we want to go going further. But we're heading into a political season here. Do you all know that? And things are going to get a little crazy. I just have a feeling. So let's just be safe here and let's keep pushing it, though. We never can be silenced. People want to silence churches that speak out, and we're never going to be that church that's silenced. We're just not going to be that. So we're going to keep going to baseball games. We're going to keep going to baseball games and supporting Pride. We're going to keep putting out our signs. We're going to keep doing all sorts of stuff that really shows that we are about love and inclusion, and that we will never be intimidated by anybody, and especially by a box of Nature Valley granola bars. So again, talk to any of us with any questions about security or safety. We're here for you to answer all of your questions. And the number one goal is to keep us all safe on Sunday mornings, right? And that's what it comes down to. So, hey, a lot of words. Let's pause it for a second, invite us to just close our eyes. I know you're all craving granola bars right now. I brought that up. Those tasty morsels. I invite you just to take a few deep breaths, though, in this time. And this is Sunday morning. We're in a sacred space, and we don't need to carry our anxiety in here. We can let that go and just be free in this time to laugh and love and practice our arts of inclusion and compassion and spread a little cheer and hope into the world with our words and our prayers and just our very being. So take a few breaths and breathe in a deep sense of peace. And let go of that anxiety that some people just want you to carry constantly. Don't let them win. You don't need to. Oh, Holy One, for the newness and freshness and goodness of this day, we raise our spirits in a course of thanksgiving. For the call to be a community of caring and compassion, for the call to be your hands and feet in a broken and so often wounded world, an angry world. We raise our voices in a chorus of thanksgiving, and we will never be deterred. Thank you for the courage, for the chance to come together, each of us a diverse and beautiful hue in the rainbow of your very being. We raise our voices in a chorus of thanksgiving for this time of gathering, to celebrate the many ways that your presence is made manifest in our church and in our lives individually and collectively. We raise our spirits in a chorus of thanksgiving for this day, for this beautiful day. Let us give thanks, and let us now journey ever deeper into this time of worship together with the voices of our choir. Amen.
Our reading today is Psalm 46. Hear these words composed long ago by one who was likely going through a difficult time, yet who also trusted that through all the storms of life that confronted them, they will never struggle alone. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. Therefore, we will not fear, though the earth should change, though the mountains shake in the heart of the sea, though its waters roar and foam, though the mountains tremble with its tumult. There is a river whose streams make glad the city of God, the holy habitation of the Most High. God is in the midst of the city. It shall not be moved. God will help it when the morning dawns. The nations are in an uproar. The kingdoms totter. He utters his voice. The earth melts. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Come, behold the works of the Lord. See what desolations he has brought to the earth. He makes wars cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and shatters the spear. He burns the shields with fire. Be still and know that I am God. I am exalted among the nations. I am exalted in the earth. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge.
Thank you, Christine. So, in honor of yesterday's game, and to keep that energy, that pride raised energy flowing, I thought we might have a little fun right now. And you're going to help me kick this sermon off. I think we need a seventh inning stretch to get things going. So why don't we rise up and body our spirit? Come on, let's join. Let's stand up and sing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Come on, stretch it out. Become a thing we do. Maybe we rewrite the words, and like midway through the sermon, we all stand up, we stretch, and we sing something, and we sit back down and get into the rest of it. God. I'm either on to something or I'm on something, one or the other. I'm not sure which one it is. Maybe a bit of both, who knows? When was Humor Sunday again? Didn't we already have it?
Every Sunday.
So today, given our big attendance yesterday at the ball game, and the fact that next week we celebrate Juneteenth, which I'm going to say a lot more about next week when we celebrate Juneteenth, I thought it'd be fun to journey into the life and faith of a man that he was kind of, a little hint, hint, connected to the great game of baseball just a bit. And he was also a man, maybe more importantly, of deep and abiding faith, a model for all of us. He was a gentle giant of a man who was larger than life and heroic statue, yet as humble as any who has ever lived. He was known for many things. He was known for being a man of great integrity and humility and possessing a passion for social change, and a man who was also a great philanthropist, particularly when it came to young black students who were hoping one day to go to college. but for whom the circumstances, as his own life showed, often made that really difficult. So many knew him as a man whose life was one of great and confident faith, for he possessed a strong and unwavering belief in the power of God in his life, guiding him in the most difficult of times and bringing him a deep sense of peace through all the vitriol and the evil and the anger that was thrown his way, and there was a lot of it. And all through his career, this man trusted that he didn't do anything alone. He did nothing alone, but he felt the presence of, in his own words, one who is bigger and stronger and wiser than I am, and who helps me when things go wrong, forgives me when I fall on my face, and lights my way. End quote. This is a great man. Oh, and he also happened to be pretty good at swinging a bat, having broken Babe Ruth's career home run record on April 8th, 1974, when he stepped to home plate, swung at a fastball, and hit his 715th home run into deep left center field, cementing his legacy as, I think still today, we can argue about it later, the greatest man to ever play the game of baseball. So on this weekend of baseball, with Juneteenth coming soon, and when the Rays, come on, I know this is hard for me to admit, stand as the best team in baseball, as much as that pains me to say as a Minnesota Twins fan, I thought it'd be fun to explore the life of one hammering Hank Aaron, his life, his game, and more than any of that, the faith that drove him. Now, Henry Louis Aaron Jr. was born in Mobile, Alabama, on February 5th, 1934, to his parents, Herbert and Estelle Aaron, the third of their 8 children. Now, being born in the midst of the Great Depression and into the evil of the Jim Crow South, things were, let's just say, a little difficult, right, for the young Henry and his family during these times. And the times were hard, and they were cruel, with grinding poverty and vicious racism all around him, framing his young life and foreshadowing some of the evils that he was then going to face later in life as his fame grew and as he approached breaking one of the greatest and most cherished sports records in history. I'll say more about that in a bit. But for now, in these times, he was a child and a young man trying to find his way amidst it all, trying not to let his life surrounded by the racism break him. That was his whole goal when he was a child. His parents, as Henry tells it, were really strict, saying in his own words, "My parents were strict with us kids." No sugarcoating that, right? We had rules, we had chores, and we went to Baptist church every Sunday. So Henry tells us when at age 15, someone offered him $2, think about that, to play baseball one Sunday afternoon, a formidable amount of money. Back then, nowadays, you can't even buy a box of Nature Valley granola bars. He said that, quote, "I turned it down for I knew Mama would never let me play ball on a Sunday." Faith was an important part of young Henry's life, and not even baseball was going to be allowed to get in the way of that. And right along with faith for the Aaron family was education. Henry's parents recognized that early on that the only way out of the grinding poverty that they were experiencing and that grinding poor life and to find a better life was going to be education. And they were dang sure that each of their 8 kids was going to get, kind of respect these parents, they were going to get what they had not. And that was an education. But for young Henry, his plans at some point diverged from his parents' plans, because he was fast becoming in love and began seeing his future revolving around one thing and one thing only: baseball. Baseball. Henry recounts a story in the publication Guideposts as he was looking back not long before he broke that famous Babe Ruth record. He told a story about, quote, "the time I skipped school to listen to the Brooklyn Dodgers game at the local pool room. For some reason, he, meaning his dad, got off early that day, and he came to the pool room and he saw me there. He didn't get mad. He just crooked his finger at me and and made me walk home with him, and I thought, I'm in for it, big time. This is it. But my father, he went on, didn't punish me. He just asked some questions like, what was I doing out of school and in a pool room? I was listening to the Dodgers game, I said. I want to be a baseball player, Dad. I'll learn more about how to play listening to the Dodgers than sitting in some classroom. Woo! Children, I tell you. His dad told him that, hey, Henry, you can get an education and you can play baseball too, you know, but then he arrived home, and Henry recounted how they had an old car in the front yard, and him and his dad, they went and they sat in that front seat of that old car, and they just talked, and Henry told him, my mind is made up, Dad. I'm going to drop out of school when I get a chance to play baseball. So his dad tried to help young Henry understand the value of getting a good education first. He wanted his son desperately to finish school, you know, drawing on his own lack of education and the opportunities he didn't have. He used that to try and sway him. But boy, with his son's emerging talent and with his will was strong to play the great game at a higher level, his dad no doubt saw all the writing on the wall and pretty much gave up that fight. And then at age 17, Hank Aaron was offered $200 a month. That's a lot of money at that time, right? To play for the all-black Indianapolis Clowns. Who names a team? I'm like, the Clowns? Really? Come on. The Clowns. But anyway, the Clowns offered him $200 a month. He couldn't turn it down, and his parents finally just relented, likely knowing they're not going to stop him anyways. But he would still promise, hey, someday I'll go on and I'll get that education. And only then did they give in and gave a blessing. And he agreed. He dropped out of school, and he began a journey right there and then in the footsteps of his all-time idol, Jackie Robinson, heading towards a glorious future in the major leagues. And what a journey that was. Do you know anything about his life? You know much about his life? I mean, when the home base dust all settled, you know, decades later, Henry Louis Aaron would not just be Henry Louis Aaron, but he would be Hammerin' Hank, the greatest baseball player that Earth had ever known until that point, and really, I'm going to argue still to this very day. Sorry, Aaron Judge, or any of the Rays players. And before retiring in 1976, after a career that began in various minor league and other teams, Aaron, he played with the Braves, first in Milwaukee, that was the Milwaukee Braves, and in Atlanta when the team moved. And in the end, get this, Hammerin' Hank would be elected to an incredible 25 All-Star appearances. 2.5 decades worth of All-Star appearances. Think about that. Hold seemingly unbreakable records, like knocking in 2,297 RBIs, or accumulating 6,856 total bases, records that I don't think have still been broken yet to this day. But most remember him from that shot heard around the world. Did anybody see it live? The shot heard around the world? Oh, of course Ivan saw it live, yes. Our sports guru Ivan saw that live. Casey would have, but he wasn't alive then, so he didn't see it. But Hank Aaron, he stepped to the plate in front of the largest ever crowd for a baseball game. The largest ever crowd, 53,000 people at that time. Never seen a crowd that big. And he walked to that dusty plate, and he was tied for home runs with the greatest home run hitter of all time, Babe Ruth, right? Who had hit an incredible 714 home runs before retiring. People like, no one will ever touch that record. The record's going to stand forever. And Hank Aaron walked up, having tied that record, 714 home runs. And on the second pitch at bat, Hammerin' Hank crushed a ball 385 feet over the left center wall and sealed his name forever in baseball immortality by breaking a record that most people, again, thought would never be broken, as he hit his 715th home run. And in the end, Hammerin' Hank would retire himself with a record 755 home runs, a record that would stand until the steroid era of baseball, where Barry Bonds would break it, but we all know that has a huge asterisk, right, on that record. And Hammerin' Hank's still the real home run hero and the greatest batter that baseball has ever seen. So a young boy growing up in the vicious South, a dream that could not be denied, a life well lived and a rock-solid faith propelled one young Henry Louis Aaron of Mobile, Alabama, and transformed him into Hammerin' Hank, who now resides in the Elysian fields of baseball immortality. What a story, huh? Now, I don't recount this day just because I want to talk about baseball, because you know me. And when do I want to talk about baseball? Always. Not just because he was a great baseball player. Rather, what fascinates me about Hank Aaron stems from an interview I heard on ESPN not long ago. He just died just a couple years ago. Not long after he died, it was during a conversation and reflection that spoke of his incredible humility. He was just a humble man, his generosity and his rock-solid belief in the presence of God through all times of adversity. This is what really struck me about this great and gentle man. Like the psalmist who wrote that favorite psalm of mine, Psalm 46, that Christine just read for us, who obviously went through some really hard and difficult times of pain and threat and violence and deep fear. It's all in that psalm. Yet who somehow was able to root their lives in the trust of a presence that would see them through it all. Well, Hank Aaron also possessed that same kind of trust, that he too was never alone, in the midst of the evils that surrounded him and frankly wanted to harm him. This guy was always at risk. You see, even though Jackie Robinson and other players had paved the way for other black baseball players to follow, things were not easy. And going through the racism and the segregation of the times, especially down here where we live in the South, and especially from angry white folks, as angry as they were with the fact that a black man was actually threatening to break their beloved home run record that Babe Ruth had set. A lot of people they couldn't accept this. So many still considered baseball in this time a white man's game. And Hank was constantly threatened with violence. He was spit on. People spit on him, they jeered, they called him terrible names, and he lived among some really frightening evil. He received letters, not like we receive here. Many, many letters, but way worse for him. Awful letters, racist letters. As an article on Major League Baseball put it, Hank Aaron kept the letters, hundreds of thousands of letters. He kept them all that he received when chasing Babe Ruth's home run record and beyond. They were vile letters, angry letters, threatening letters that revealed in no certain terms the dirty underbelly of a nation that has left its most fundamental issues of race and equality unresolved. So this is what Henry played amidst, and it must have been overwhelming at times. So when asked how he kept it all together, as all these letters poured in, this hatred poured in towards him, all this racist anger, he said, quote, when I was in the ballpark, I felt there was nothing that could bother me. I felt safe. I felt like I was surrounded by angels, and I had God's hand on my shoulder. I didn't feel like anything could bother me. He had an intense experience of the presence of God in his life, guiding him and helping him and holding him in a safe place. And he talked about this presence before, saying, I don't do it on my own, but God is my strength. Sounds a lot like Psalm 46. Where he said one time, as I said earlier, I need to depend on someone who is bigger, stronger, and wiser than I am, and that God helps me when things go wrong, forgives me when I fall on my face, and always lights my way. So his resolve, he said one time when pressed on how he keeps it all together in the face of such awful adversity, it stems from his strong Christian faith. So for him, God was a very real presence for him, much like it was for the psalmist, whether the one that we heard or that 23rd psalm that we explored a couple weeks ago, or countless others. There's a holy, steady, and guiding presence. And we're being held in something greater than that which we can explain, and that brings a sense of peace And that framed Henry's life. And it was really the rock, way more than baseball, of his entire life. The most fascinating thing I learned about our friend Hank Aaron in relation to his faith was that all throughout his career as a player, he kept one book in his locker room at all times. He read this book over and over again throughout his career and his life. You might be thinking it's the Bible, right? It's not the Bible. It's not the Bible. It was a book by a 14th century monk that he kept in his locker, a monk named Thomas A. Kempis, a classic written over 600 years ago called The Imitation of Christ. I just pulled it out of my office and then I forgot it in my office. I keep that same book on the bookshelf. It's a spiritual manual of sorts about trusting in God and overcoming fears and evil through walking in this world with great wisdom and humility and finding strength through those things as Christ did before us. And again, I keep a copy, and when I read about this, I pulled that book down. And I'm like, what did he see in this book? I kind of remember the book. I've read it, skimmed it. It's been a long time, no. But he kept it in there and touched it before every single game. Think about that. So I opened up. I mean, I'm thinking of all the filth thrown at him, all the racism, all the vitriol. And before he goes out into that, I imagine him opening this book for some peace and reading the words like this from the ancient book. This is a favorite quote of his. Do not regard much who is with you and who is against you, but let this be your greatest study, that God be with you in everything that you do. Have a good conscience, and God will defend you well, and no evil will hinder or grieve you. End quote. That seemed to sum up Hank's faith so well, right? And provided a courage and the peace that allowed him to rise up and face down those challenges and conquer all those fears and evils and overcome all that adversity. And while doing so, not only change a game, but this man changed the world as well. And with that faith guiding him, with that presence a part of him, that young man named Henry Louis Aaron Jr. became Hammer and Hank. And then, led by that faith, transcended even that as his life became bigger than baseball. And he became about human rights and civil rights and philanthropy and giving back in so many ways, and eventually even being awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by George W. Bush. He was always giving of himself, right up to the very end. I don't know if you remember this. You remember that thing called COVID? You remember that thing? Yeah. Well, he decided early on that he wanted to receive the COVID vaccine. Early on, and he did it, and it was early in those days, so he could stand as a symbol for other black Americans skeptical of the vaccine because of the horrific acts of the past. Justified problems with that vaccine, absolutely. But he said, I want to get the vaccine to show others that it's okay. And he did it. He did it. He died shortly afterwards, but that's not because of the COVID vaccine. It was made pretty clear. But he was an inspiration to so many. And he was an inspiration from the beginning of his life to the end of his life. What a life. What an American. What an amazing person, and what a great faith for us to explore. My hope from this sermon is that we can all see from Hank's life well lived the blueprint of how to navigate the ways of this world in terms of how we decide to live in it, like he did. And we all have different things happening in our lives, right? But we hold in common the fact that we will all have good times, probably right now, and we're all going to have not so good times, probably also right now. Those are just facts of life for us in our lives. And as Ecclesiastes reminds us, for everything there's a season. There's a season to laugh, and there's a season and a time to cry. Life, in other words, will at times bring us to our knees. But as Hank showed us, it's in how we journey through those times that shapes us, that molds us, and that determines how we will come through the fires that life throws at us and into the clearings on the other side. I mean, Henry could have just stayed Henry, right? Letting the evil win, letting the hatred win, letting the fear and the racism And he never would have realized his destiny to go on and become Hammer and Hank, who transcended those things. He could have just been paralyzed and let that keep him down and out, but he didn't. He didn't do that. He trusted something, that some presence was a part of him, and he tapped into that presence. Call it God, or we call it often the ground of being, or divine essence, or creator, whatever it is, it's there. It's in the heart of life. It was in the heart of Hank, and it's in the heart of each of us. Every single one of you. There in the midst of the difficult times, calling us forward, journeying with us in the pain and the fear and the anxiety or the grief and the loss, and calling us forward to rise up and face whatever is trying to hold us down or lock us in fear. Hank's life then was just a giant one of trust that he was never going to go through all these horrible things alone. And it was okay for him to be not afraid. He couldn't be alone. He trusted that. And that was a core that drove him into a pretty amazing life. So if you're facing great fear and anxiety today, my friends, trust that there is a hand. Trust Hank, that there's a hand on your shoulder guiding you forward. A metaphorical hand. If you're in grief this day because of loss, there's a hand on your shoulder. Just feel it, reminding you that in this pain, you are not alone. If you're facing a health challenge that's leaving you in paralyzing fear like Hank, trust that there's a hand on your shoulder that will run the proverbial bases with you and keep you going forward. If you feel alone, remember that there's a hand on your shoulder that connects you to everything and everyone else in a web of creation that can never be, and you can never be alone within this presence. This eternal now is always a part of you. Whatever you are feeling this day, whether in the good times or the bad times, these days in your lives, remember that like Hank, no matter what life throws at you, you will never walk it alone. That's the overarching promise of our tradition. It's the very best of our religious tradition. It's the promise of this mystery that we name God, and it's a gift far greater than a home run record, the one remarkable man left us in the world. I say to you, happy baseball weekend and Pride Weekend Sunday. Remember Hank, explore his life. Remember that you two are intimately connected to a God, an eternal now that will never leave you alone. We all have that as a part of us. Amen. Amen. Go Hank Aaron. Amen. be a joy. It is. It is. You know, I forgot to mention. Speaking of my joys, I don't want to lose my joys. Those of us at the Pride game yesterday got these really cool can things. What do you call these things? I don't even know. Can coolers? Koozies? Like a metal kind of koozie. Really cool. It says, baseball is for everyone. I never use a can koozie, so this is going to become our giveaway today. We're having a UCC giveaway. So here's the instructions. You could win this very can koozie right here for your Bud Light, to hold your Bud Light when you're drinking it. So we're going to give this away. Now here's the deal. On the back table, Dawn's at the table in the back there in the corner. I have a Tampa Bay Rays helmet back there, and there's a basket with little slips of paper. I want you, if you're interested in this here can koozie, you know, I'm going to leave the can koozie out. We're going to look at it. You're all going to want to go and get that can koozie. Write your name on a slip of paper, put it in the Rays helmet, and then and I'll leave it out for next week too when people get here. So if you don't get a chance today, and then during the service next week, we'll draw a name, and someone in here, some lucky person in here right now, or maybe not here because they come next week, is going to win this Rays Pride can koozie. This is an exciting day. This might be our first ever giveaway at Faith UCC. So don't get used to it. Door prizes excluded. But pretty cool. So yeah, so put your name in there and we'll draw next week for the can koozie. I just like saying can koozie. It's kind of fun. Bud Light can koozie. I want to let that roll us into some joy, let's start with some concerns first. I want to continue to hold the Alexander family in your hearts and prayers on the death of Mary. Last week, we held a beautiful service for her celebration of life last Saturday, and so just continue to hold them in your hearts and prayers. Carl and Donna are here today, and hold Donna as well in your hearts as she bids farewell to us today. I think tomorrow morning, heads back, flies over to Sweden, and goes home, and she'll be back sometime in November to be with us again. So our hearts are with you in this time, and we're thinking about you. We'll take great care of your dad. We'll get him to lots of baseball games, no worry, and make sure he has lots of fun. And maybe get him a foul ball or something like that. We'll work on that. So hold the Alexander family in your hearts and prayers. Hold Ellery. Ellery's back in the corner here, and Cliff is here as well with us today. That is a joy. It's always a joy to have the both of you with us. Ellery's going to be going in for heart surgery either this week or next week. So Ellery, we hold you in our hearts and prayers as well. I know you're going to come through it strong, and then you'll have a clean slate. You can eat all the bacon you want, as we were talking about yesterday. So you'll be, those are his words. His words, I'm going to have a clean slate, and I can go back to the beginning and eat all the bacon I ever wanted. So Ellery, we're with you. We're thinking about you this week. Let us know how we can support you, okay? Absolutely. Continue to hold Bev Grief in your hearts and prayers. Bev is in rehab right now, and she's been in a lot of pain. And also hold Jim Peterson in your hearts and prayers as well. Jim's been in and out of rehab and the hospital. He's back home now, but he's also been in and out of some real issues of pain. So hold Jim, hold Bev, hold Ellery, and hold the Alexander family in your hearts and prayers this day. A couple of joys here to share. Carol Kriebel is celebrating 30 years of retirement from teaching health and physical education in Pennsylvania this month. Carol, happy 30 years of retirement. That's pretty cool. Her husband, Willard, is giving a thumbs down. I think that means she's spending too much time at home or something, Willard. I'm going to leave that between you two to sort out. But we celebrate, Carol, your 30 years. We thank you for your time in education and all the lives I know you touched. So, yeah, amen to that. Thank you for that. And Lori and Victor are departing on Wednesday to Basel, Switzerland, where they will begin their Viking River cruise down the road. That is exciting. Wish you guys well. Have fun. How long are you going to be gone for?
We leave Wednesday and come back the following Friday.
What a great trip. Have a good time. Take lots of pictures and pop a few on our Facebook page so we can live vicariously through the both of you here in the coming weeks. And just have a good time and be safe out there. But, I share a joy of my own as well. I spent the last 2 days in Gainesville, Thursday and Friday. Got back Friday night with my daughter, who went to Preview, which is orientation. Oh my God, at the University of Florida. And she was with a bunch of kids. She met her roommate. She got her schedule set. She's not going to follow an art history and religion like I had hoped, but is going to study chemistry. But while I was there, I thought, hey, cool, I'm going to go ahead and pick up my fancy Florida Gators Pride Cup. So this is my new official Faith United Church of Christ coffee cup, and you're going to see a lot of it. Go Gators and go Pride. This one I'll drink. Every time I have a cup of coffee, I'll drink it with pride. But the reason I bring it, I'm sure there's a sermon coming from me on transition, because I was already balling, leaving Gainesville on Friday, thinking of leaving my little girl up there in just 2 months. It's crazy. So for all of you undergoing transitions in your lives, I get it. I'm right there with you. And there's definitely a sermon coming up on transition that's it's going to be a real heartfelt one at some point here. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, it's an exciting time. And also, I know it's happened billions of times. People let their kids go to college, but I feel like it's the first time anyone's ever done it, Of course, no one's ever done this before, right? I'm the only one. No. So watch for, let's talk about transitions in the coming months, because they can be wonderful and they can be hard, and both often at the same time, So, yeah. Hey, will you join me in a little time of prayer here, and let's journey together in the sacredness of this moment into a time of stillness. And as we do, let's just lift aloud the names of those that we hold in our hearts who are struggling and who need a communal infusion of prayerful energy, and as well as places in the world that we hold concern for. And we just need a name. First name, last name, or a place. And so I invite you now just to lift that into the sacredness and the stillness of our space here.
Brianne.
Barbara. Zimmerman. Lori Walker.
Eddie. Sally.
Nancy.
Maria.
Ann.
Ashley. Jim.
Gilbert.
Faith.
Ken.
Diane.
Jessica.
Taylor. Creighton.
Judy and Corey.
Michael. Chris.
Martin.
I heard Diane, definitely Diana Doan, who's been at home ill. We miss you, Diane. As we journey back from those names and those that we hold in the sacredness, naming those that we hold in the sacredness of our hearts and the silent places in our hearts, may they feel a calming and wholesome presence in their lives and the struggles that they're going through. And for all those who are struggling, those we lifted aloud, and again, those we hold in the silence, may our energies spill out and bring a sense of peace and connection and always a sense of hope to them. And may our world, those places we hold in our world, see more peace and less division, more understanding and less fear, maybe more love. How about less judgment? More working together for goodness than less apathy and struggle alone. We don't need to do that. Oh God, you remind us of that always. So peace be with us in our struggles, our loved ones who are struggling in mind or body or spirit, and of course the world, all of its challenges and evils this day. Peace be with all of us and with our world. I wonder if you'll join me now in praying together a beautiful interpretation. This is that New Zealand version of the Lord's Prayer, we call it. And the words are on the screen. Eternal Spirit, earth maker, pain bearer, life giver, source of all that is and shall be, Father and Mother of us all, loving God, in whom earth becomes heaven, hallowed and amen. Hey, I want to just lift up a couple announcements before we head on out for a time of hospitality. Juneteenth is coming up next week, and we're going to have a Juneteenth celebration here for us as part of our worship. We're going to honor and recognize Juneteenth. And the city of Dunedin is doing a really cool thing Friday, June 16th, 6 to 9, right in Pioneer Park. Live music performances, craft and food, all sorts of stuff. So join them in honor and recognition of this awesome celebration. It's free to attend. So go ahead and you probably go to their website if you want to find more information, or just head down next Friday night from 6 to 9 p.m. at Pioneer Park and have a good time celebrating Juneteenth. And of course, it's Pride Month. We all know that in Dunedin. There's a whole list. What do we got coming up this week? We got Blur Drag Queen Show. Did I mention that? So check that out, 9 p.m. That sounds great. The 17th, we got the Gala event date. I think tickets are all sold out for that. The Fenway Pool Party. All sorts of great stuff. Go to the Dunedin Pride website. And if you didn't see, the Dunedin Pride Facebook page shared us out and said, thank you, Faith United Church of Christ. And we got a ton of play on that from people going, who is this spiritual community? I want to find out more about them. So that was really, really cool of them because we did sponsor Pride. And proudly so. So check out the schedule, DunedinPrides.com, and you can see all the stuff going on. And on the 25th, we're going to have a full-blown worship service celebrating Pride right here 2 weeks from today. So come on out that day, wear your colors. Heck, you want to dress and drag? Dress and drag, why not? Just make it some fun. Let's have a good time, you know? Any volunteers? Want to commit right now? You want to see me? Many do. I hide those photos, you know. I only pull them out at certain times. But why not? Let's have a ball. Let's make it a great day. Come on. It's Faith UCC, for God's sakes, after all. Let's go crazy. And bring your Nature Valley granola bars on that day, too. But listen for your message from God in them first, you know, before you eat those tasty morsels. I'm going off the rails. All right. But, I do want to say thanks for all your giving as we conclude our time together. And we got more time for hospitality. Oh, don't we have a garden day next week? I think we do. We got see that thing of mulch out there? We had our tree all trimmed and they ground it up. We're going to spread that mulch in the garden. So next Saturday, do we even pick a time for this? Any green team folks? Anybody? Should we just say like 9 o'clock before it gets too hot? 8:30? 8:30? 8:30, if you're interested, bring a shovel, bring a wheelbarrow. Everybody's got a wheelbarrow home, right? Bring a wheelbarrow, and I think as part of that day, bring your outdoor clothes. We'll get some food or something. Let's have some fun. We'll crank up some tunes. Heck, dress and drag if you want to come and do that too. Drag garden day. And we'll move our wheelbarrows of stuff around, and then I want to move those. You know, we got rid of the playground was falling apart out there. So we decided to take it down, but those blocks around it are going to be really good for parking. So we want to move all those blocks out and kind of build a parking lot back in the grass there to kind of frame out where folks can park. So we're going to do that. So we need a bunch of workers. So 8:30 next Saturday, right here, Faith UCC in the garden. Bring your work gloves, bring all that stuff, and let's have a really good time. It'll be a fun community day, and we'll just do some work together. So, yeah, Fran. Oh, and the strategic planning worship team is meeting probably right up here after the service. Get some hospitality. If you're part of that, or if you just want to join in and listen to what's going on, you can come on up front after this service. But thank you for all your incredible generosity, my friends. You are the most generous congregation. I always keep saying it, and I'm just going to keep on saying it. Thank you for your giving. Helps us be a really needed voice in this world right now, a voice of love and inclusion. And your support makes it that if you're visiting with us and you're like, I want to enter to win this cool can koozie, but I also got some cash in my pockets. Well, we got plates as well on the back table. Or you won the 50-50 yesterday at the game. Yeah, I didn't even know what that was till 3 days ago. You can go ahead and leave a donation, a love offering on the plate. If you're online with us, our online friends, hope you have a great week. And also, if you want to make a donation, just go to our website and click the give link, PayPal, Banco. It's all right there. We just try and make it so easy. But thank you for your generosity and making this just one of the most awesome spiritual communities that the world has ever seen. And I mean that. I fully mean that. So you're a big part of it, and thank you. And your giving makes it so. Hey, we got to sing our way out of here, though. Let there be peace on earth. Let it begin with us. We'll see you at the hospitality table in just a bit. If you got to get out of here and go do something, have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Take care and be like Hank Aaron this week. Don't forget to register to win your can koozie.
you.